welcome to the Knitted Bean podcast. My name is Echo and I will be your host today. The Knitted Bean is a nitty, nerdy, and sometimes sweary podcast with a side order of fandom at the end. I come to you from Montana in the United States, where I live with my 2 Boston Terriers and my husband. You might be able to hear the Bostons goofing around at the base of the camera if they bump into the tripod. I apologize. It's going to happen at any second. I can see it. They're playing bitey face down there. So it is Friday, the 13th? I put the 3rd on here, but I'm pretty sure it's the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Ooh, it's Friday the 13th. Are you superstitious? I'm not really superstitious, so I guess that doesn't bother me. I want to welcome back any of my return viewers, say hello to any new viewers. I'm glad you're all here joining me for this every 2-week podcast where I get a chance to share my love of yarn, knitting, geeky things, all things fandom. If you don't know what fandom is, it kind of encompasses any kind of media, whether it's books or radio, audio, movies, anything like that, and just the extreme love of it and the willingness to share it with others. If you are looking for me on the internet, you can find me at Instagram as The Knitted Bean, on Ravelry as The Knitted Bean, and you can email me at knittedbean@gmail.com. And obviously, you've already found my YouTube. So, I did find that it worked well to do my notes on my phone last time instead of my computer. I think I'm going to stick with that. Hello, there was a fly. I have the door open so that, like, not just the door to my yarn room open, but also the front door open so that the dogs can go in and out. I'm home alone. Yay! So my hope was that it would, like, keep them entertained while I podcast and they wouldn't come in here and be all licky balls. We'll see how it goes. That also means I got a fly. I was right last time. It is starting to be fall. So it's about 70, 73, 74 outside. That's like low 20s Celsius, like 22. And yesterday it was windy, cloudy, cooler, maybe the 50s, 60s, but no rain. I mean, our leaves are not turning, so it's not fall in that sense. Our grass is still growing. My husband's still mowing, but it's fall in the sense it is no longer 105 degrees, which is like our August normal. So I am happy with that. The dogs are happy with that because it means that they can sit out on the sidewalk and bake themselves for long periods of time without actually giving themselves heat stroke. It means that I can wear a little bit of knit. I wore a knitted shirt the other day out of the house and I was very excited to be able to do that and not just roast. And it means that I am in full sweater knitting mood. So this is great. I love it. So what am I drinking today? I am drinking out of a mug that I got from Cost Plus World Market. It is just got an E on it. It actually has a silicone topper to, like, keep your tea or coffee warm, but I often don't use that. It's just a couple years old, and I just like it. I bought it because I liked it. And I am drinking some tea that I was sent from Benta at Arctic Crafts by Benta. It's a bird and blend. This is the first time I've ever got to try bird and blend tea. I hear a lot of podcasters across the pond talk about it, so that was really exciting. It's a red tea with lemon and lavender, and I am this is very good. I don't have any tea or I don't have any honey or lemon or milk or anything in it. I'm just drinking it plain, and it is the perfect amount of, like, citrus and flower without being too much. Like you feel like maybe somebody squeezed a little lemon in your tea, but it's great. It's perfect. Loving it. So what do I have for you today? I'm gonna do a little admin section at the front, which I don't normally do, but I have a few things I want to go over, and then we'll do some FOs. I have one whip, and I have a to watch recommendation instead of a fandom recommendation today. So I am going to do another knit along. It is going to start October 5th and run through December 14th. I picked those dates just because they line up with when I podcast, or when I publish my podcast, I should say. And I'm going to call it the Head, Shoulders, Fingers, Toes 2021 knit along, or make along. I don't care. You can crochet, you can, heck, you could sew. I don't mind. But it's basically an accessories knit along is what it's going to be. So anything that goes on your head, anything that goes on your shoulders, your fingers, or your toes, you're good to go. Whips are fine. I don't care. It's nice, easy, open. I figured it would be nice because come towards December, you know, a lot of us have Christmas knitting and gift knitting that we are trying to bang out, and this is a little bit of an incentive to do that. Because a lot of times we do choose those smaller projects like a pair of socks or a pair of gloves or a hat for a gift to give, because we can do multiples of them. And it also lines up nicely. You can do the Stephen West MCAL, and then you could also double dip into this because that's a shawl if you wanted to. If you don't make the deadline for him, you still have a couple months to finish it up and still enter it here. And then for some of us who still enjoy our selfish knitting, you know, maybe we still want to make ourselves some socks for winter. Maybe we want to make ourselves a hat. I definitely made myself a hat. So just a fun little accessories knit along. You can definitely enter more than one thing. You know, if you make a pair of socks and you make a hat and you make another pair of socks, you can definitely enter all three. I do think I'm just going to, I hesitate. So I still probably will run it on Instagram. What do you guys think? You know, should I go ahead and open a group on Ravelry and run it on there as well? Let me know below if you would like to see it on both. If I don't get some feedback that you guys want it on both, I will probably just keep it on Instagram. That's definitely an easy place for me to do it. Not that Ravelry is not easy, but it's kind of always a little bit odd to stretch it between two places. In addition to that, I did mention a giveaway last podcast. If we hit 100, we haven't hit 100 yet. So if you don't mind liking, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, share it around. As soon as we hit 100, I will be so happy and glad to draw for that prize package and get it out. It is open internationally. I just want to be able to share something fun and rewarding with you guys for coming and spending some time with me, because it's very rewarding for me to know that people are coming to hang out with me, sitting down with their knitting or their coffee or whatever, and watching me chat at this big black box of a camera. And it's a nice thing for me to be able to socialize that way, since I don't get out as much as I used to. I just love it. It's great. So I want to be able to say thank you. And I think that's it for admin. Granny is so cute right now. I want to turn the camera and show you, but I know she'll get up. I'll take a picture. And I'll see if I can insert it. I would move my cane, but the minute I move my cane, she will wake up. That would be bad. Okay, so let's get into it. What do I have for FOs? I'm like super pumped because I'm actually recording on a Friday. I'm gonna have all weekend to edit. I'm not gonna be rushed. And it's been, well, all summer pretty much since I've been able to do that. So my first FO is, you might recognize this from Joji Locatelli's fall ebook, which I spied and could not resist. I would love to make that newspaper sweater, but brioche scares the ever-loving shit out of me, so it's not gonna happen yet. This is the Change Your Mind beanie. She just calls it the Change Your Mind, but in Ravelry it's got beanie in quotation marks after it. It is a multiple folded brim. I would unfold it for you, but I've got this little thing on here that keeps it from unfolding, but it is a tri-fold brim. It is 6 inches of 1x1 ribbing on a size 2 needle. So it is a bit of a slog at the start if that's not your thing. And then it switches to lace and it is finished off with a pom-pom. First time I've made my own pom-pom. It's a little wonky. Oh well. I totally tried this on without the pom-pom. And as you can see right there, it looks funny. Yeah, no, the pom-pom, 100% required for this thing. You can't, I mean, I guess you could, maybe if you had like less jowl than me, maybe it would work without the pom-pom, but for me, it does not work without the pom-pom. I love this hat. I was making this hat the entire time thinking, I'm gonna make a nice knit for myself. I make all these cool knits and then I invariably give them away. I didn't put the pom-pom on. I tried it on and I was like, yeah, I really don't like it. I think I'm gonna give it away. And everybody around me was like, put the pom-pom on, make a pom-pom, try it with the pom-pom, maybe you'll look better. And I'm glad I listened to them because it did look better with the pom-pom and now I've decided to keep it for myself. So, like I said, I did make my own pom-pom. I just followed some instructions online. I could have definitely made it more floofy and like, I think right here it could use a little bit of a trim. I did the trick where you like tie it inside with a button so that it stands a little better, and that did work really well. It also means I can take it off to remove it. I finished it with a recycled leather tag that I got from my LYS. It's just riveted in. You can unsnap it, unroll it to wash, so it can come off for washing, definitely. I like it, I love it, it's so soft. So the Mossy Brown, this is Farmer's Daughter Bearpaw, A Test of Time. It is left over from my sock squad. I don't know exactly how much I used because I didn't look to see what I used from my sock squad on my socks. But I still have 22 grams of it left after socks and this. And I made like some medium length socks with it. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. So, but I felt like I used a good chunk of it. So probably like at least 40 grams of it here. And the lace is in Das Mannschaft Aurora, which is her 100% merino single space. And it's a one-of-a-kind colorway that I got in a mystery bag that I ordered. So the pattern does encourage you to like play around. Feel free to like mix and match bases, singles, and plied, different fiber contents and things like that. And I think it does really look good that way with the mixed and matched bases. I had a lot of the Aurora OK left, so I could definitely do like another one with a different color brim if I wanted, or do something else with that yarn. What else about this? I feel like there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, no, that was really it. I mean, it's definitely worth the like 6 inches of 1x1 ribbing. You just have to like know that that's what you're gonna be doing. prepared. It didn't take me very long, less than a week. I worked on it fairly steadily, but I wasn't knitting as much because I was not feeling well. So I think if I like knitted on it solid, I could probably finish it in like 4 days. So that's my hat. A selfish knit. I finally did another selfish knit, like one that's not super basic, because I'm always making like myself like vanilla socks. So telling you that tea is really good. My next one for an FO is, it's just a headband. I just put it in my notes as headband. It's in my Ravelry as like gift headband. I don't know if I'm even gonna put this on. This is super duper not my style. This was a request. Someone in my world requested, hey, if you want to make me a gift, you could make me one of these twisty headbands. And then they just sent me a picture of generic knitted twisty headband. So I knit a headband. Twisty headband. I was gonna have it be knit side out, but I sewed the thing together like on the wrong side because it was like 1 a.m. and thus it became a reverse stockinette headband. Okay, we're gonna try this. I'm gonna take my glasses off. I can't see you anymore, so don't judge. And it's like supposed to be like a headband slash ear warmer for winter. Okay, I really can't see myself, so I can't tell how terrible this looks. I apologize, but you know, the little knot in the front covers your ears up for you go for a walk when it's cold and you don't want to wear a whole hat. It's really not my style. I feel like the Mod Squad. But it is the style of the person who requested it, and I'm sure that they will love it. It's not my style for a couple of reasons. For one, it's like salmon pink, which is not my color, but it is their color. So, the yarn is this lovely 80/20 alpaca silk blend that I got as a gift from a friend in fandom who was like, I have a bunch of old yarn, would you be able to find uses for it? I showed it to you before. It was like a big box and I was like, I'm not even gonna go through the whole box, but here's a few things. This was one of the things in there. It was a 50-gram ball of alpaca with a twist Temptations, which is a worsted weight, and it's discontinued. It's no longer made. It could be 5 years old, it could be 20 years old. I have no idea. It's definitely not new though. But it was a brand new ball, all caked up with the tag stuffed inside. Just a good color for this person that they are gonna love. So I just cast on, I want to say 36 stitches. I could be wrong. On a size 4 needle. I don't like knitting flat, but I decided to try something new and it was better. I still don't like knitting flat, but it was better. I just used DPNs. You know, I had like some 7-inch DPNs and those were much better than trying to do it on my circulars, and God knows I don't ever want to use my 15-inch straight needles again in my life. Those things are for stabbing people, not for knitting on. So I did that just on some bamboo DPNs and I just knit for like 19.5 inches. Basically I just kept trying it around my head, and when it could just barely touch, almost, I figured, okay, now if I whip stitch it together in a knot, it will block, stretch a little, have enough stretch to go down behind their ears and it'll be fine. So I whip stitched it together in like a sandwich fold like this. Turn, you know, I had it like this and I turned one like that. Whip stitched it together, realized I had put the stitching on the knit side out, and I was like, oh, I guess it's gonna be a purl side out kind of thing. As I was knitting, I just did a, I don't know what they call it. Is it called an applied? It's not an applied I-cord. That's when you go back and put it on. This is a I-cord as you go thing. So, you know, I just slip and then knit at the beginning of every row, going back and forth to give it that I-cord edging, so that it wouldn't roll and roll and roll and roll and roll forever. And I mean, it rolled up a lot while I was knitting it, but once I blocked it, it didn't. I made sure to kind of stretch it out flat when I blocked it, and then I put a balloon inside of it, and I blew it up to about as big of a head, and I popped that balloon sitting up on a cup, let it dry overnight, and voila, we have a headband. 4-day long gift. Only took me 4 days because it's knitted flat, and I'm not fast at that. If I had been able to knit this in the round, I could have been done in like half a day. And I liked the idea of just knitting a round tube like a sock and then doing the same thing with it, but I only had 50 grams of this color, and I was certain that I wanted to use this color for that person, and I wouldn't have had enough to do a tube that long. This took 42 grams or 44 grams, so it would not have been enough. Would not have worked. So, as we've been going along, you're probably standing here going, what in the heck are you wearing and you keep fiddling with? This is my Rainbow Relay Shawl by Yarnison. And it is done entirely in Pancake and Lulu yarn. It's a slub yarn. I think it was called Toxical. And then 4 singles, mini singles, that were 100% merino singles. And I love it, and I wanted to wear it today because it's 70. It's definitely not warm enough to like rock a full knit, but this is not a super duper warm shawl. The slub is, I mean, I can see through it. It's extremely airy, very light, and this shawl is like my summer shawl that I use for keeping myself from getting a sunburn, basically. And I know that its useful days for this year are numbered because it's fall, and in a month I won't be able to wear it at all. So I wanted to be able to wear it for a couple more days before it got packed away for winter and has to wait until next year. I highly recommend the pattern. It's super fun. You can freestyle it however you want. It's just more of a guideline than a pattern, and it's fun. Also, if you want to try knitting with slub yarn, the texture is great. It's like walking on moss. Knitting it itself is a pain in the ass because it's very splitty. So that is what I have for FOs. My tea has hit the right drinking temperature. And I just want to guzzle like the whole thing now. So I really only have one whip other than that. I have 2 half-finished socks, which I haven't worked on at all in the last 2 weeks because I wanted to knit myself a hat. And I knit myself a hat, and then I was like, oh crap, people's birthdays are coming up. I need to work on that. So I made a headband, and then I was like, And I ordered a smaller needle, a 9-inch circular, in the size that I needed for the sleeves of my charcy. I had been using a 16-inch for the upper, and then as it got lower, I wanted to go to like a 12 or a 9. I decided to just go for a 9. And so I was waiting for that to come in, and while I was waiting for that to come in, I just worked on that hat and that headband. You know, I probably should have worked on my socks. You know how when you're like, I know what I need to work on, therefore I don't want to work on it. It's like the minute you're told to do something, not happening. So I have my charcy. It's still living in my fucking bunny's bag. And I'm gonna struggle to show it because it has two yarns still going into the bag and like 3 sets of needles in it. But we'll see what I can do. So I've gotten about half of one arm. Boop. a quarter of the other arm done. My goal is to finish the arms first, and then I will whip out that bottom. I did get a chance to finally add. Oh, I love it. Love it so much. I'm gonna have a huge set of strings. The first bit of that rainbow tweed yarn, and it's so bright. So bright. I love it. It's great. So the Charcy sweater is a short or cropped fitted with fitted sleeves sweater by Camille Decateau, and I am test knitting the last size that she needed test knitted, which was a 3X. The pattern is already released. It is an all over slip stitch pattern using 2 colors of variegated yarns for the body, and then a contrast yarn or matching yarn, however you want to do it, for the neckline, cuffs, and the hem. And it's great. It's a great stash buster. That's what I'm doing with it. Just, you know, depending on the sizing, you can get away with anything from 1 to 2 skeins of variegated yarn in a color, and then pair it with another 1 to 2 skeins of variegated yarn in the color. What I chose to do was just pull out 2 mostly full skeins, and then like 4 smaller scraps of all the same color family, and then pair it with a single color behind it. And I am loving it. Now I got the, where'd it go? I'm hiding it. I got my smaller 9-inch needle yesterday, and I put like a couple more inches on it. I added a progress keeper just from last night of the cute little gummy bear from Benta. I'll show you the other ones that she gave me. And I can't wait to rock on this now that I've got the extra needle that I wanted. I should have just ordered it at the beginning, but you know, I'm always like, oh, maybe I'll magic loop it, and then I'm like, oh, I really hate magic loop. Still fitting in the fucking bunny's bag amazingly. Amazingly. I really need to get like a big sweater bag, but I don't want to tote a big sweater bag around with me. I will stuff it. So what else about the Charcy real quick before I move on? It's like a $9.50 Canadian pattern, so I think it was like $7 or $8 US. Totally worth it. It uses fingering to sport weight, heavy fingering yarn. And yeah, I think it's a great one for stash diving. Just dig in and see what you got. My throat is so dry, you guys. I don't know why. Okay, so moving on to acquisitions. If you're not here for acquisitions and live stuff, thank you for stopping by. I know I don't usually say that, but I know that there are some people who are not into like yarn porn or enabling or whatever. I love it because I like to learn about new makers that are out there, and even if I'm not going to buy from them right away, I have a huge list of bookmarks where I will bookmark a maker that I've heard about, so that next time I can buy something, even if it's 3 or 6 months down the road, I can go through that bookmark list and be like, oh, I'm gonna buy something from so-and-so, and then I can go onto my Trello board of like yarn that I absolutely want and just mark it off. So moving into acquisitions, I have 2 big and 2 littles. The first big acquisition I have is a prize that I won. of the Grizzly Knits podcast, which is just a lovely podcast out of Canada. She talks about her knitting and just this calm kind of way that I am not. Which is probably part of what attracts me to it. We don't all watch like all the same things that we ourselves are. And usually I really like these very like super realistic podcasters, and she has a little flavor of that. Like, she's not afraid to go on and be like, I am knitting this thing. I've been knitting it for like 2 months, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm not real motivated at it, you know? Like, she's not like pretending like, oh yeah, I'll just whip that right out. And she's not afraid to be like, I was knitting this thing and oh my god, I made this big mistake. Like, she's not faking it, and I love it. She also has like a really well-established color palette for her. And so I like that, whether it's the person loves like neons and you can tell that like, oh, this is the kind of yarn they're going to buy and this is the kind of yarn they're going to like and this is the kind of pattern they're going to pick, or whether the person just loves like browns and beiges and this is the kind of yarn they're gonna like and this is the kind of pattern they're gonna pick, because I like to pull from all of those. I know you guys have seen like I knit a lot of brown, but then I say I love a lot of green, and I do have a lot of green and I have a lot of like really bright yarn, but I also have like a lot of classic brown knits that I do, so I kind of pull from both of those. Anyway, she had a giveaway drawing that I had, it was like an enter by comment, and I typically comment on her podcast quite a lot anyway, and so I was drawn as the winner from that, and so I was sent in a big muslin bag, which I'm totally saving because I would kind of like to try like ice dyeing it or something like that, or I'll come back to that thought later. I was sent a nice big bag with a nice handle and a boxed bottom, linen inside, and a nice, try to get the light right, leather tag. This is Sweet Comfort Designs. And I saved the card so that we can all look. So, Sweet Comfort Designs made this bag and donated it. And it's gorgeous. Guess who forgot to empty their memory card for the last month? As I was saying, I had to resist using this for the last 2 weeks. This bundle arrived like 2 days after I recorded last time, and I was like, but I really want to use the things. I was like, no, if you use the things, then you forget to show the things. So, I can use it now and I'm excited. That's what my Prionic sweater from Sweater Freak is going to go into. And then I got, ooh, this is going to be hard. There we go. That looks about right. Some tonal brown from Plymouth Yarn Co. This is a, looks like a worsted. Oh, yep, worsted. It's the Galway Collage. So it definitely has like a few fun darker spots, so I like that. And as soon as I got it, I knew what I was gonna, it's very like scrummy, like, I don't know. So it's not like soft like merino is soft, but it's soft like you could squish it like a pillow, and I like it. And I was like, this is going to be a big thick winter hat. Or maybe a winter cowl, but I think really like a winter hat with cables. Ooh, I just think this would show cables really well. So yeah, I know what that's gonna be. And then she sent one of her progress keepers. From her shop, which is on Etsy. It is Grizzly Knits. And these are like semi-precious stone progress keepers and stitch markers and things like that. I actually have been eyeing these for a while and was thinking about buying. So this is super awesome. And I can't wait to put it on something. Probably that hat. So that is the first thing that I got. I'm losing my shawl. Because I had to stand up and fix my camera because I didn't empty my SD card. Okay, and then I have a couple small things that I ordered. The first one being from NSM Creative Corner, a leather thimble. You may or may not have seen me using my blue leather thimble, which I'm in love with, and I may have mentioned on here before, I have a little bit of a memory issue. Not bad, just not as bad as it was. A little bit, and I can set something down and 3 seconds later not know where it was because my brain is just fried. Welcome to being disabled. But I wanted to get another one because when I go out of the house and take my knitting with me, I almost don't even want to bring that thimble for fear that I'm gonna like set it down on a table somewhere and then leave it. Never have it again. And I can't knit without my thimble. I love it. This is what lets me knit with Hiya Sharps or metal Chowgoos or whatever, and I do the push thing and it doesn't matter because you could poke a needle in here and it wouldn't matter. There will be no hole in my finger. These run like $8 and they are 110% worth it. I will say it's leather. It's real leather. You can buy thin, medium, or thick. I do buy the medium, and you can see it's a little long on me right now. That's because it's not broken in. I mean, I've had it for a week and I've been using it for a week. When I first got it, I could like only get it that far on my finger. So they have you measure around your finger and that's the size that you order. It will stretch. And so if you order and you can slip your finger right in, it's gonna stretch right out and then it's gonna be too loose. They do give you a little leather strip that you can poke in there to keep it fitting. I prefer to hold my string a little bit tight, order that size. So I order an extra small, which is 1 3/4 inch. And in another 2 weeks, this will go all the way down to my finger. It will be fully stretched, completely broken in. And I never have to use that leather strip. I've had my other one for probably almost a year and it's just now almost loose to where sometimes if my hands are really cold and kind of shrunken up, I might put that little leather strip in there. But these are, if you want a gift to get a knitter, these things are amazing. They will save your finger. And it's just like the littlest thing that nobody thinks about. I've tried every like leather thimble from Joann's and Michael's, from Singer, from Tukami, from Clover, and I don't like any of them in comparison. Spend your $8. Get it on MSN Creative Corner. They're on Etsy. Okay, another small thing that I got is from the Sexy Knitter. I am going to be going on a plane trip and I intend to take my knitting, and I have 1 pair of snips, and while the blade itself is only like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, the snips in total are 4.5 inches long, and I am not willing to risk having my favorite snips snapped by TSA because it's more than 4 inches. So I ordered from Sexy Knitter, which is a place that I get a lot of my stitch markers, and ordered the itty bitty snippers. It was part of a Halloween package. With some Halloween stitch markers that attach to it. It has a little cover. And a lot of people like put this on a necklace so that you don't lose it. This way I can just put this in my Notion tin and I know that it's not going to get yanked by TSA. I also watched their little video. These particular ones are way sharper. You can see the beveled edge. I looked at some like $20, $25 ones at my local knitting store. They were super cute. They came in a little leather pouch and they had a little tassel, and I was like, those are super cool. And I pulled them out and they just look like two pieces of unsharpened metal. And I was like, is that gonna cut anything? So I'm much more pleased with these. This way I can just take this. I will have some stitch markers right there with me. I will have scissors, and I will be good to go. Okay, and then the last thing that I purchased was I was finally able to order some yarn from Benta at Arctic Crafts. What? Look at those colors! My light is 100% dying. And I can tell. Like my studio light just totally dimmed out on me up there. It's gone. Okay, so I have Arctic Sunset, which is what like got me to go buy something. I was like, oh, yes, please. I was very torn between getting this way or getting it in self-striping. And I did get there in time to get the self-striping if I wanted it, but gosh darn it, I just leaked this one in this way. So this is on the 80/20 Corriedale sock, which I'm excited about because I have not gotten to knit with Corriedale before, and this feels like, I called that other one Scrummy. This feels scrummy. I like it. It's like real bouncy is the word, I guess. Like ba-doop ba-doop. So it's a 400 meters and I'm so excited. I always have to put the wool on my face. I can make a sweater out of this. This feels like it would be a very warm sweater, like warmer than merino would be. Smells good. And then, because it was on there and I've always liked it ever since I saw it on Chevy Rail's stuff, and it was the last one, I got some grab your drink. I said it wrong. It's grab your drink. I don't have the right accent for this. This is on the Polldale sock, which is 80% Polldale and 20% nylon. And these are like colors that just speak to my little heart. I love it. I admit, I also really love how they go. I'm not sure, but these two might go together in something. So the Polldale is smoother. Definitely. This is like serious sweater yarn right here. A little more scrummy, smoother, but man, I can't wait to dig into these. They're gonna be so great. Fun! Then on top of that, I was chatting with Benta on Instagram. We had a great long chat about all kinds of things. And she offered to throw something into the prize pack for you guys for the knit along. So I have Fine Merino DK in Salmon Sushi with, oops, my lighting, I'm so angry, oh well, with a lovely little bubble tea stitch marker slash progress keeper. This is the kind that has, I guess they call them a lever back hook. So you can use it for anything. You can use it as a stitch marker. You can use it as a progress keeper. You can use it with crochet. You can use it with knitting. It is for everything. And this is going in the prize box for, I can't talk, prize box for the Head, Shoulders, Fingers, Toes 2021 make along. So, starts October 5th, runs through December 14th. Accessories, whips loud. In addition to the cute little gummy bear progress marker that I showed you, she did send to me a few extra progress keepers. Woo-hoo. Oh, little snowflake. And I love this guy. A sandal! And this can switch back and forth, just like the gummy bear, between being a stitch marker and a progress keeper, which I love. So thank you so much, Benta. Those were lovely, and they are going to go right into the prize box for the accessory knit along slash make along. And I can't wait to get it off the ground. So, moving into life stuff and getting it off the ground. That podcast, I lined those dates up with when I would normally podcast. It would normally go out on the 5th. I'm going to be out of town for like 8 days. So I have not gone anywhere in, well, since long before the pandemic. I mean, we all haven't gone anywhere for that reason, but I haven't gone anywhere any longer than that because I'm not very mobile and I'm not very healthy. And I had planned a trip with a bunch of friends overseas back like at the beginning of 2019. And we were like, oh yeah, you know, maybe when all this COVID stuff blows over, we'll all get together in Amsterdam. And like I'd already bought the tickets. I hadn't even, like my doctor hadn't even told me I needed to quit working yet or anything like that. And so, yeah, that is now happening, and we'll see how it goes. I am taking my mobility scooter. I'm taking my cane. I feel like I'm taking a whole hospital with me, is what I told my doctor when I went to see her yesterday for a whole new issue. And she gave me a letter with like a list of all the accommodations that I need from the airline to give to them. And it feels like a huge undertaking just to like fly overseas while disabled. I don't know. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. If any of you were disabled, like navigating that with an airline. And I did go overseas like 3 or 4 years ago when I required a wheelchair, and it worked fine, but I also had my husband with me, and this time I won't have my husband with me. I'm meeting people there who are going to help me there, but like the actual from point A to point B is going to be on my own. So that's going to be really a huge test of like my ability to like be independent, which I already know is not super great. So, but my husband's like, it'll be fine. You're meeting people there. They already know all your issues and they can help you. You just gotta get from A to B. So I haven't decided how I'm really going to tackle that. If this is going to be record the podcast while out of town on my phone, because I'm not gonna bring my camera, I don't think, and post it that way, or pre-record it, or because then I would only have a week's worth of content, or just record a short snippet of starting the make along and then do a big podcast when I get back into town, which would be a few days later, and go from there and like show all the stuff that I got while I was out of town, did while I was out of town. I'm undecided. What do you think? Would you rather like have like a short episode that just introduces the knit along, and then a longer episode, like normal length, maybe longer than normal length episode when I get back from the trip? Or would you rather have a shorter episode because it was pre-recorded and it only had 1 week's worth of content? Let me know below. One thought that I had is if I pre-recorded, I could pad the content with like some tips and tricks and tutorial on how to do flat lay pictures for your Instagram. I have had several people say like, oh, your Instagram looks really nice. And I know I've said before, like, I don't curate my Instagram other than it's just a knitting Instagram. I definitely have done semi-pro photography before, and I have like a semi-pro camera, and that's what I record my podcast on. That is not what I take the pictures for my Instagram on. I take the pictures for my Instagram on my good old Samsung Galaxy 9. That's it. And I'm sure that like my photography knowledge like influences how I set those pictures up and things like that, but I don't like go to great lengths. I'm cheap about it. I don't like, let's just say I'm not out there spending like $100 on props to take pictures on Instagram. I'm not painting a nice varnished background to lay my knits on. I totally cheat. So that could be something that I could like pad that shorter episode with if I was to pre-record it. Let me know what you think on that. Okay, last thing. Normally I have a fanfic recommendation, but I'm gonna mix it up this time because I watched something and it made such an impression on me that I would rather talk about that. And if you are not into like true crime, then this is not going to be for you probably. But if you are, then this is 100% going to be for you. What I watched was Ted Bundy Falling for a Killer on Amazon Prime, and it was so great. And I say that because a lot of true crime is solely focused on like the person who committed the crime and the crimes themselves, etc. And that is not the focus of this story at all. It starts off, it opens up, and you meet Ted Bundy's long-term girlfriend. And she says, so many people have told this story. So many men have told the story of Ted Bundy. I wanted to tell the story of Ted Bundy because no women have told the story of Ted Bundy, and I thought that it would be an entirely different perspective. And that right there entirely sums up the entire thing. It is shocking how different the perspective is when it comes from the other side of things. From this side, instead of coming from the side of, why did he do this? Who was he? Instead, it comes completely from the side of what put his victims in his path. Not what made them victims, not why. There's no victim blaming at all. Just what put them in his path. Like what societal things were going on that made a monster like Ted Bundy go out hunting, and then what societal things were going on that made his victims be able to be out there for him to find. And then on top of that, like, there's so much exposition and so much in-depth information about his victims that I've never seen in another documentary about a serial killer. Every victim that they can, which is the majority of them, is documented all the way down to when they were a toddler. You see childhood pictures of them. You hear about them in high school. You hear about them in grade school. You hear from their friends. You hear about their personalities. So the entire focus of the documentary is about the world that Ted Bundy affected and not about Ted Bundy. And I thought that was so amazing. And, you know, there are disturbing parts, and there are parts that make you angry and made me angry. And a lot of times the parts that made me angry really surprised me in that it wasn't even the things that he did, but the way that some of the families and friends of the victims were treated in relation to those women going disappearing and why they might disappear. And so they would go to the police and they would say so-and-so's gone, and the police would have XYZ and 42 other excuses on why that woman was gone, and none of those were, oh hey, 7 other women her age and her hair color have gone missing and maybe it's related to that. Like, the amount of gaslighting for the women in that time was just enormous. And that's something that when you are looking at documentaries who are written by you know, some of the male detectives who were hunting Ted Bundy, this is totally never mentioned. They never mentioned that, you know, well, I said this or that to a victim's family, because whoops, dog knocked a cane over. In the light of 2020, 2021, those comments don't look good. So they smooth it over. And I think it's important to look at the whole history, the real history of what was said and what was done, not just what makes you look good. And this does a very good job of that. And his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, girlfriend at the time, is very open about why she made the choices that she made as far as staying with him when she did. And, you know, it's really incredibly good and moving, and I highly recommend it. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. If you don't, you can definitely rent it on Amazon. So that is my recommendation. I'm not going to call it a fandom recommendation, because although there are serial killer fandoms, I am not fond of that moniker. I think that there are people who are true crime fandom, and that's fine, but I don't think that you should really be a fan of a particular serial killer. That's crossing a line that I'm not cool with. That was the last of my tea, so I am going to let you go wherever you're at. I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, or midnight, depending on your time zone, and I may or may not podcast in 2 weeks, but there will be something. At the very least, a video announcing an MCAL.